Common America hit 100K.
Oh yeah, and it hit 2,000 backers. Well, hello and fuck Cape shit, even more than ever these days. Um, Here's
Hello and
our
fuck Comics
emergency
Cake.
last minute episode for this week of Shittywebcomics Weekly, brought to you by our wonderful, wonderful Subscribe Star backers as usual. Um, and yeah, you know what? I did kind of want to start off by mentioning Common America 4 and Omnibus on Kickstarter really blowing up, looking pretty awesome, as well as many other things. And yeah, to just go ahead and check that out if you haven't yet. I certainly want to plug it because, especially its success also leads to funny things. Like if you like seeing um, emotionally fragile people melting down, then support Common America because Common America's success makes people melt down even more. As you may even see in the comments section, a certain obvious sock puppet account that is very blatantly belonging to a certain comics artist professional whose life is filled with suspicious secrets about his sexuality and his family even.
Basically, open secrets at this point.
Yeah, um, and the fact that that guy has shown up in the comments after yesterday's like nonstop piss rape holocaust of fucking just trolling at a certain person, specific person's expense. We'll actually get into that a little bit at the end of this video, but we'll start off with, I guess, an excuse, rationalization on our part that we weren't gonna keep covering more and more Stone Toss, but Stone Toss's popularity is also growing up more and more because Stone Toss is getting his comics are getting tweeted by the fucking Taliban, and I didn't open any of those links, but it's easy to find on Twitter. The Malang whoever the fuck guy on Twitter that's a member of the Taliban, and basically the Taliban's Twitter account essentially. I mean, there's a couple guys in the Taliban who have Twitter accounts, and it's led to really weird circumstances where Twitter's like, well, we'll let the Taliban guys have their accounts as long as they follow the rules. And, people are like, oh, what's that all about? And then the Taliban guys will post, like, memes from Paul and Stone Toss Comics making fun of Jews, or also the one on display here with the smug leftist saying, but the government has tanks and jets. How do you beat that? And then it's the Taliban waving by to the tanks and jets, America's tanks and jets, as Biden's Biden's government flees Afghanistan. But this one, this image macro thing is actually going over how things make a point, and it says right wing and does it in like German Nazi. The right wing is in German Nazi text versus left wing, and the words left wing are in Comic Sans. How disgraceful and dismissive.
It's especially funny because the left-wing comic in this case, I'm pretty sure, is a fucking. It's a conservative, but it's like classic conservative boomer.
It could be, yeah. Horsey is somebody from the Seattle Times. Yeah, I kind of recognize them. Then again, we may be mistaking them for someone else. Yeah, I'm not sure,
Okay.
but it could be a conservative who turned and like one of those never Trumpers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the thing: is that this isn't really a right wing versus left wing cartoon. This is literally just how one cartoon. Because I've seen right wing cartoons
Mark
fucking do the
Wall
stuff that's on the right here.
indie fucking independent cartoon versus like the fucking the establishment idiocy.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what this is. It's not really right wing versus left wing. It just happens to be that the Stone Toss is basically right wing guy. The thing is, again, not to be praising Stone Toss constantly, but again, this his comic here is one of his best, easily, and it's become a giant meme, rightfully so. Whereas the stuff on the right here isn't going to be accepted as like a mockery of people who share these beliefs. Um, but I did like the analysis of the differences between the presentation, and I think that's worth going into and displaying and perhaps discussing for a few minutes. And so there's the comics, which is the Stone Toss one, is the planes and tanks and jets one, which it reminds me that used to be something. A lot of left wing people would say that as a reason why you shouldn't even, it doesn't matter if you own an AR-15, you shouldn't even be able to, because first of all, it's evil, guns are evil, but then also because it wouldn't have any effect if the government really did want to crack down on you, which was also debunked by that one 4chan post, I think from Kay, just saying like, you fucking idiots don't know that a tank and a plane can't patrol the streets of an American neighborhood, which is what you need, and that kind of stuff. That was also a good point. Just a factual point. But anyways, so the Stone Toss comic, above it says the premise of the cartoon is to mock an idea. This is almost like the Virgin versus the Chad meme, but in comics form. But the premise of the cartoon is to mock an idea. The ideological opponent, liberal, is shown to be a bit smug, but is not dehumanized, dyed hair for stereotypical identification as a liberal. He also has hair that's supposed to be shaped like a pile of shit, which is supposed to sort of be a secret dog whistle signifier of homosexual.
And also just being a shit lib.
Shithead, shit lib. Literal shithead, if you will. But being a bit more subtle about it than certainly the other cartoon. But the final point being pointed to is the punchline shows just how wrong the idea being mocked is. Which, in a way also just a factual statement, a factual observation of stuff. When we say we don't want to praise Stone Toss too much, it's not because it's like Stone Toss is any of that shit. I don't really care. Even if he was a full-on Nazi that was marching around in his apartment in a fucking SS uniform, I wouldn't give a shit. I don't fucking care. Unless he starts machine gunning Jews in the streets, then it would be like, well, I guess that's illegal. I guess it's supposed to be illegal. Is it illegal? I don't know. Probably. But anyways, the only thing is that I don't think all of his comics are great. I just think some of them are really good. I think this one's actually great. But it's not like, I'm not saying I'm begrudgingly giving him credit. I'm just saying that we almost cover him too much.
The strength is basically in their meme power, their meme magic.
Yeah, the conciseness, and we're gonna get a little bit into that in a few minutes too. But just to cover the rest of this macro, which again I like the image macro here too. Going to the other comic, it just says "masterminds" in the upper corner, and then it's like these giant burly guys with holding machine guns, which really just look like fucking a cross between an AR-15 and an M14, but it's all black because black gun equals more scary gun.
All over it that just guns don't actually have.
As you taught to me, the guns are bubbud out AF.
Bubbud AF.
Yeah.
They both have huge scopes on them.
Yes, because huge scopes means more bad. They
and
got
more
extra big ass clips now with more molecules.
Capability to shoot down aircraft.
Yeah, yes. Probably have laser sights to blind the pilots too before shooting down the aircraft.
Well, that's not what the lasers. That's not what the average FUD knows about the laser sights. The laser sights are there to look cool and to help you aim.
Is that what they're for? Holy shit. That's even more insidious than blinding pilots with them. But the one guy has Southern Cross shirt, and then it says militia, and the other guy has Nazi swastika belt buckle and Q button, which I guess is the same thing. But then they have tiny heads. One's wearing MAGA hat, and
Now they're incredibly muscular too.
yes,
It's almost like they
it's
have
bad.
regular sized heads, but their bodies are just so insanely muscular.
Yes. They have completely normal heads. But also both of their fingers on the triggers of the guns. Can you fucking believe that? That's very wrong.
It also reminds me of like somebody dug up like one of the old pictures of John Moses Browning posing with a gun. He's got his finger on the trigger, and somebody's like, "Oh man, he wasn't practicing proper trigger
This
discipline." And then
fucking
somebody
piece of
replies
shit,
to that.
John Moses Browning.
Somebody else replies to that with, "As far as you, how do you know he's not aiming to destroy something right there?"
Right, even though like on the ground, fucking forward. It depends on if he was holding it up or down, of course.
He
Um,
was holding it up towards the air, probably intending to kill God.
yeah, maybe he was gonna shoot out. Was it a BAR, which he invented?
It was like a musket or something.
Oh,
It's a
so
very famous picture.
okay. I would have to
Like
look
if you
at it.
just look up John Moses Browning,
Okay.
it's probably the first
Yeah,
result.
didn't he actually invent the BAR? I mean, I assume if it's a
Yeah,
photograph.
Browning automatic rifle.
Mm-hmm. Delightful gun, wonderful. Just as deadly and as effective as these black modern assault rifles. It was like one of the first real assault rifles. Um,
Hmm.
Sort of meant to be carried. It was meant to be put on a bipod more specifically, but guys were just carrying them. They're just two handing them around World War II. Pretty sweet. And but it was made around World War One too. I was kind of shocked to find that. I
Yeah,
was like, fuck,
it was like 1918.
yeah, pretty cool, pretty sweet. Anyways,
I think that's the model number is M1918.
yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right. Um, anyways, the arrows pointing, the notes pointing to this comic though of the masterminds. Um, it's the first one here at the top, which is a little cut off by the fucking smug alien in the corner, but whatever. I can just read it. Ideological opponents, right wing gun owners, shown as inhuman freaks. This also kind of ties into a lot of our previous episodes. Last week's episode was one of our best ever, but that was just a review of a manga. But that was such a good episode. But the ones just before that were about like the opposing viewpoint comics and straw man comics. That's like my ideological opponent, and then just a drawing of like a misshapen, drooling retard. That's exactly what this is. But this guy does it for pay. It's like that's
He
all
does
you
it
need to
for a
do.
mainstream media publication.
Yes, lamestream media is more like it.
It's a great example of how the independent creators are outdoing anything. It's the power of the internet, really.
Yes.
This is what the purpose of the internet has always been, is to find real talent when it's just being the mainstream
Or
fucking channels are all being smothered with just utterly mundane,
mm,
generic, stupid shit.
or it's
Like
not
like
just
that.
finding the talent, but letting the talent be shown unhidden without without having to get over that bar of joining the establishment. It's like now you can just ignore the establishment and you don't even have to be published by some indie zine. It just goes onto a website. That's all you need. The digital age, this is the real indie revolution is impossible without the digital age. And that's been true for 20 years now. And a lot of people, especially in the establishment comics scene, don't understand that and don't want to. There's a lot of people today posting to their YouTube channels saying like that they don't even know what a webcomic is. And they're so establishment minded, and they're trying to act like that they're indies now. They're the independents, but they're being propped up by the establishment and by like fucking Ethan Van Sciver, of course, is an obvious example. But everyone with Ethan Van Sciver, all those guys who I don't even know their names because they're really not relevant or interesting. None of them have ever made an interesting comic
Ethan
in their
isn't
lives, and they
relevant
never will.
either, except that he's the most famous.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the thing. He basically leached the
Well,
fame
it's
out of a lot
we're
of
the
other
most
people.
familiar with him because we directly fucking confronted his stupid low IQ and very establishment oriented ideas and debunked them directly to his face and actually tricked him and played him effortlessly into contradicting himself. You, my brother, just did that like not yesterday, but I think it was 2 days ago on Twitter and fucking got him to have a fucking meltdown to the point where he's very clearly going on sock puppet accounts to scream
I
at
would,
people
I
about
would say
how
that I
angry he
ruined
is.
his day, but it looks like it's going on longer than a day. And as we already know
Yes,
with him, it'll last the rest of his life.
yes, for the rest of his life. It's sort of like I thought Troons had to dilate for the rest of their life, but it's only a few years. And somebody replies saying, "Yes, it is for the rest of their life," and then quotes, "Only for a few years." And they could just go, "Yes, it is."
It is.
Um,
That's basically, he is basically, I mean, he's already going around wearing wigs and shit.
Yeah, unironically Ethan Van Sciver unironically dresses like a girl, so he's seething publicly. In fact, that was the thing. We'll get into that again a little at the end of the video, but he was publicly seething, and then he goes on a sock puppet account and seethes. That it has 0 followers. It was just made like a few months ago or last year. And he's had a history of doing it in the previous years past and shit, especially at the exact time that people are fucking making fun of him brutally on the internet. And then all of a sudden, a suspicious sock puppet account just shows up and starts screaming. So if you see someone in the comments below, that's Ethan, regardless of what the account name is. But that sock puppet account has shown up here always when Common America is like breaking boundaries and fucking hitting milestones and shit.
Okay.
Every single time, it's like the next day or usually the same day when Common America gets a lot of positive press. That'll happen. Um, I forgot how we
It's
even.
constant now. Every single time they have a campaign, that's the
Yes.
thing. And
Every
I
time
always
there's a
find it to be
campaign,
very
this
suspicious
a sock
that
puppet account will
none
show up
of
and start fucking
Comicsgate
yelling.
ever brings it up, except to be like, "Oh, this is a success for Comicsgate." Really? Because I thought your leader told you to hate them. Your leader hates them.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is that well, that's a whole different issue. In fact, we're not going to get too much into that. But just getting back to this comic, though.
I do think it's worthwhile to point out, though,
Yes.
a lot of these people will be like, "Oh, he's not our leader. We didn't appoint him our leader." Oh, okay. You're going to call him out then, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, because I really love his comics.
Or you're going
Okay,
to
so
tell him that
he's
you're going
my
to
shithead.
admit when he's wrong when there's direct evidence proving that he's, which is what we did. Again, that's why we're bringing this up, is that we were posting evidence of him lying, just using his own words. Like he'll say one thing and then the next clip it was him saying the exact opposite. That's all we have to do. And boy, he fucking has a meltdown. And people were just ripping into him and making fun of him all day yesterday and the day before. Because he threw a fucking sissy fit, even a while ago. It wasn't even recently. But he threw a sissy fit about Common America and how much he fucking hates that Common America is successful. But we'll get into that later. Anyways, let's just finish off this macro. We're almost done. It points to, the notes pointing to it say, ideological opponents shown as inhuman freaks. There is no idea being mocked. The point is only to make fun of people you don't like. No real punchline. Look at how ugly and silly they are. There are silly people and then little people.
That's the thing is, it really, imagine the kind of person who would laugh at that. It's somebody I wouldn't ever want to be around.
Yeah, and again, there are a lot of people like that. Who are like, oh, this is a really good point. And it's like, no, again, this is why we went into
Not
that whole
important at all.
tangent, is because this is the establishment. This is the same thing that Comicsgate itself is made out of, is a worship of the establishment. So when you look at this is the kind of comic that Comicsgate supports. It's establishment supported. It's got it's got a publisher behind it. It's got
They were never Trumpers too, and I don't even care if you don't like Trump anymore or whatever.
yeah, it's got
But
that
if you're a
status
never
support
Trumper, then
approval
you're just
approval. It's
it's the
got
lowest
the
form of
fucking
life.
it's got the legitimacy. That's what it has. It has the print legitimacy, and that's the commonality. That's the tying, binding, identical, like ideological, identical thing between people like Ethan Van Sciver and this goofy ass comic here. Whereas the Stone Toss comic on the left is the legitimate, independent, it not approved, or it doesn't have any official approval by any print or any establishment person in any way. Some of them are like guys like Posobiec, who is very establishment, will sometimes be like, "Ooh, check out these comic," and it's he's clearly a guy who wouldn't really support Stone Toss, but he knows he also can't deny that people are he's probably seeing like hundreds of people share this Stone Toss comic, and he has to make it look like he's on board. Whereas normally he wouldn't be. He would be very establishment. He would probably be borderline never Trumper if Trump didn't get elected, that kind of thing. Or he would be a never Trumper if Trump didn't get elected usually. Um, but the again, this is the real difference. It's not right wing versus left wing, but it's like independent versus establishment. That's really what the difference is here. But all the other points are very cogent, salient, whatever. Um, but yeah, I want to go into that because that's worth pointing out. I guess go into the next one, which is an edit of a Stone Toss comic that somebody just posted because it was going around, and it's Paul, and they're fucking. It's the tug of rope thing, which again, extremely meme worthy because you can do edits of it and show a lot of ideological points in a way, yeah, of arguments and that kind of thing. So it's Paul, and then joined by Nicki Minaj because she got suspended on Twitter for just suggesting that people don't take a certain medication, um, a certain, not the one that's horse paste, but the other one, the one that people are saying to get. In fact, as shown in the bottom, is I fucking love science mask cuck, joined by Donald
The
Trump.
normie cock muzzle.
Yes, joined by Donald Trump, and then Paul is just, huh? Which I always thought the original comic of this was a little sort of flat in a way, but it does make its point well.
It's clearly fucking. I mean, again, it's so fucking well known that this
Yeah.
is yet another edit. There's a million edits of.
Plus, it's to establish something that's actually true. And like the original comic was, it was a "Don't Tread on Me" T-shirt guy joined by Nazi, and then on the other side is communist joined by billionaire against them, and they're just huh, and it's fucking
It's super straightforward. It's
yeah,
one word.
to the point of just being bland. But yeah, it's one word, which is like almost you don't need that, but it knows how to be concise, which is another point that here I'll get to this. Right here was from people whining about Stone Toss, and here's an edit as usual on our, of course, our Reddit account, our trans. The kind of therapy I want the most is hormone replacement therapy, and then trans femme depressed. Why not try therapy? And then hey doctor, what do do? And the next one, well, and then 2 years later, woman, which of course they forgot to draw the stubble, fucking, but it's from a different fucking thing. And it says Stone Toss is a Nazi. And it's like, well, good job, you just fucking platformed them. And then it also says trans
Who?
rights. It's like, whoa,
Who?
that'll get
It's
him.
kind of like the fucking, uh, uh, fucking the what was it? Brooke Shields is in the movie. Who?
But yeah, Stone Toss is a Nazi. Stone Toss, who's that? Huh, maybe I should go Google him. And then in response, of course, Stone Toss is a big poo poo head and just wall of text. Well, I'm pretty sure this is like the script to
The
B
B
movie.
movie
Um, it
or
just put
Shrek or something.
yeah, unreadable in the thing as a joke on just how much text there is. And I replied, pointing out a point that's been made by a lot of other people. About it's the whole, how to make meme magic or whatever the fuck, or really, um, it's as I'm saying here in my tweet, is the meme about wall of text is not only true but actually good advice for any comic creator or writer. Be as concise as possible, and that's the thing. It's shown perfectly, like being mocked here as a teachable moment, I guess you could call it. Is that the longer this shit goes on, the more text there is. It's all cramped. It gets smaller and smaller, and you could sum this up sooner and faster. And you look at the original Stone Toss comics, and you can see Stone Toss has a perfect understanding of that to make his points fit into as few words as humanly possible, and you see how much they get spread because of that, because they're so simple and boiled down. In fact, in a way, you that's the same way you've seen like foreign comics drawn by people who like Jusica in a way, and or there's other the comic with the guy is like help, and some guy runs up and shoots the guy, the hostage, in the head, and that's a comic that's written by somebody I think in Europe, and it's just not even in English originally because it doesn't need to be, because it has no text actually originally, and it doesn't need any. It's communicated with just the visuals, and if you can see what's going on just from that, then it becomes universal. Anyone can fucking spread this and understand it. Like the Taliban, that's why the Taliban is fucking retweeting this shit, because they're like, oh, look how easy it is to get this point across. The simpler you get a point across, the more the point gets across. And that's a point that's been made about that goes back to the CAD rule, and I want to do a video about that eventually. But that was about Control Delete, where on V they used to delete they would take a 4-panel CAD comic, delete the second and third fucking panels. We talked about this before, I know. But they would do that and notice how the punchline would actually be better. Even if it didn't make sense, it would still be a funnier comic. Um, and a lot of people learned that way. And again, that was on V with webcomics. Whereas at the same time, people reading Cape shit and Marvel and DC were completely clueless about this. They never learned that because they're afraid to go out of their comfort zone. They need the establishment. They need establishment approval, and it has to have some form of establishment approval. That's why you'll never see them be true independents. The people in Comicsgate represent a desire to be the establishment, not to subvert the establishment or to be independent. And we've proven that hundreds of times over the past couple of years, but other people are finally starting to wake up and realize that we were right all along about that. Here's just the next thing is from some guy, Jetopion, Jetopyon on Twitter. Just Castlevania but better, and it's fucking, is that Trevor or fucking it's Trevor, isn't it? And he's got a minigun, and his fucking I think this is Dracula, and fucking is just spraying blood out of either his nose or his mouth or both.
One of the games specifically.
He's not happy. Oh, it's Simon Belmont. Yeah, fucking. For some reason, all I can think of is Trevor, but yeah, Simon Belmont with a fucking minigun, and then Sweat Dorpish Bat. The bat behind him is feeling a tad sweat dorpish. I just thought it was funny. In a way, though, this is a comic too because I mean, it doesn't have text and it doesn't have like a following thing, but it doesn't have to be a comic. This is telling a story, and the story is that Simon Belmont has a fucking minigun now.
And you can imagine where it goes from there.
He fixes the cable. Anyways, well, wrapping up now with this from at POTUS Thump. Mine's at Ninja Inc. I follow him on Mines. Wow. But this is Tim Lim of Common America. And Kickstarter. He links to the Kickstarter. What is this? $103,000. It's only been a couple of days. It's a 40-day campaign, 37 days to go, so it's been 3 days, basically. And it already broke 100K, so it's setting a new record for itself. This is more, I think it's almost more than the entire previous campaign, or it's getting there anyways. And then 2,000 backers. That's 2,000 individual people. See, the difference between Kickstarter and Indiegogo, real quick, is on Indiegogo, you can back the same comic like 1,000 times. Like if you take $1,000, donate $1 1,000 times, it counts you as 1,000 customers, 1,000 backers. Whereas on Kickstarter, only one person at a time can back. And if you try to back again, you only just edit your pledge. So it's still the same amount of backers. You're just donating a different amount. It says, I'm a backer. I pledged $16. I went for the book, basically. Pledge $10 or more, volume 4 graphic novel. This is my pledge, and the extra $6 is for shipping, which is nice. But that's because it's in America, of course. But also let me show the trailer a bit, because I like the beginning of this trailer especially is nice.
When the clouds start to rise, don't hold back, let your light shine. Energy runs deep in.
Why wouldn't you put this into your fucking campaign?
Yeah, why would you make a campaign that didn't have something like that in it? And it's funny because here is just Tim Lim just sort of dunking on a person who made a post. This is a second post, but this is from Kiwi Farms. And I could spell out who this is, but we don't have to get into that, do we? I don't know. But somebody on Kiwi Farms named Yes No Maybe saying blank shitting on Common America. It definitely seems like sour grapes. Not a good look. And then the person, this is another comic creator saying this. Do we have to hide that? Do we have to fucking... Because we don't have to. But my point, half of my point here is that Tim didn't name this guy. He showed a screen cap of a person just clipping out the context of the person's identity, because it's very important. This was a great point that I made, a genius point that I made. My point was so good when I pointed this out, is that if you take this comment, and here's the comment is, the book looks gay. It looks like it was made by furries for non-transfers. Again, it's clearly someone who's just angry. Like, Sour Grapes doesn't even come close to scratching the surface about this. It looks like it was made by furries for non-binary transfers. You're clearly just angry and throwing out every buzzword about, like, people don't like non-binary and trans and furries, right? Everyone hates them. So I'll just say all of those words I can think about.
It's a pathetic type of cope.
Yes. It's something beyond even cope. It's I believe doctors would refer to this clinically as a failure to cope. Very sad, very paused. But yeah, he says, I don't understand how two heterosexual conservative men made that comic, but then again, it's Tim Lim. And it's like, so you don't like conservative? It's funny because you take that comment, strip out the name, and you would assume this is by some social justice person. You would have to assume this is a leftist. The only way to make a comment like this in any way, saying somebody's conservative like it's a bad thing inherently, saying that it's Tim Lim like that explains anything, The only person, nobody else would be like, oh, it's Tim Lim. Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's inherently a bad thing, right? Nobody thinks that anymore. And clearly, the person who says this would think that people would inherently listen and believe to them. If they go, it's Tim Lim, just saying that, they're expecting other people to just agree with them sight unseen without thinking for themselves about anything. You would have to assume this is an SJW or something. So that's the point of this, is you strip out that context and you can see people's preconceptions are removed, because you without the because people would bring, if people knew who said that in right off the bat right away, they would bring preconceptions. Like if you heard that, like say for example, you were really a fan of Baked Alaska and you read this comment without knowing Baked Alaska said this, you'd be like, wow, who's this whiny faggot? And then you find out it's Baked Alaska and it's like, maybe they have a point, I guess. You find out it's Ethan Van Sciver and you're an Ethan Van Sciver fan. You'd be like, well, maybe Uncle Caesar is right. Hail Caesar. You know, that kind of shit.
It's part of the cult mentality.
Because we've seen that. We have personally witnessed and proven and displayed people doing that, where they will take a comment that's exactly like this here, that is clearly whiny and throwing a little bitch sissy fit. And then, anyone would be against this until they find out the person who said it is someone they're a fan of. We have proven that every single one of Nick Rekieta's fans are like this, where Nick Rekieta throws a whiny bitch fit, where he's actually crying like a bitch and whining on stream or in his tweets or something like that. And Nick Rekieta's fans, who normally would say, ooh, who said that? That's a total soy boy. They say Nick Rekieta says it, and they're like, well, he's right then. Every single time that happened. Every single time.
Also, what usually happens is years down the line, they have to cover for that.
Yeah, or they act like they were never agreeing with that in the first place. They're like, well, I never liked, after he becomes an embarrassment, they're like, yeah, I never liked that guy anyways. The same thing happened with Ethan Ralph. We proved Ethan Ralph was a dishonest person who was covering up for, dishonest frauds and shit.
Yeah, this was years ago.
Yeah, and again, the reason why we even bring up Ethan Van Sciver more than once is because all of it connects. It was about Ethan in that case. We had actually shown that he was lying and that he was stringing along Ethan Ralph. And all I did was bring that up, is that, like, I told Ethan Ralph, this guy's lying to you, and then Ralph had a complete meltdown in public on stream. I recorded it and saved it and archived it, where Ethan Ralph was like, whoa, what do you mean? He just suddenly, like out of nowhere, acted like I was accusing him of something. He actually said I was accusing him of something I didn't even say. He was like, whoa, what do you mean I'm taking his side? I'm not biased. And it's like, I didn't say you were biased. I said that this guy was fucking playing you as a rube. And it's just right out on the surface. And nobody on Ethan Ralph's side took him to task for it except for us. And then months later, the whole stuff with Faith happened, and the fucking revenge porn and the thumb in the ass and all that stuff. And people realized that we were right without realizing that we had been the ones to show it first before anyone else. But yeah, again, all these other people, all these e-celebs, these e-celeb YouTubers, we have shown and revealed in public that they are dishonest and disingenuous people. It's just that most of you are not actually capable of perceiving it yet, but eventually you will, whether you want to or not. You will agree with us. You'll be repeating in a year, you'll be repeating what we were saying today. And that goes for all of Kiwi Farms too. It's sad. Folks, it hurts me to say it, but even other people on Kiwi Farms are like, yeah, they're completely behind the times. Kiwi Farms is just in the dark and will be repeating what you guys have been saying, because the stuff we were saying last year is now what Kiwi Farms is saying right now. And that's been proven already. There is no argument about that. That's already objectively quantified. But we go into this, and this is what happened a couple days ago, or September 17th. So this was yesterday, actually. Is that Kickstarter Common America just blowing up, going fucking massive, hitting all these milestones that they've never hit before. It could break 200K. I think it will hit 150K. I'd love it if it broke 200 or 300K or fucking $1 million or whatever. But the fact that it hit 100K just in the first few days is a new milestone for them. And that's great. That's great for them. It's also great for us, but I won't get into that.
It's great for independent comics in general.
Yeah, it's actually great for legitimately for independent comics. The thing is, this only benefits real independent comics, which means it doesn't benefit anyone in Comicsgate because none of them are actually independent comic creators. All of them are secretly backed up by Dynamite Comics or some other publisher or something. They're backed up by the establishment in some way. Proven, in fact, before you even get into the fact that Dynamite was propping them up, it's proven by the fact that most of them worked for the big two. They're using establishment cred to try to build their legitimacy. If you're doing that, you're not really an independent at all. You're a fucking, you're an industry shill trying to act like you're now independent. You're trying to take indie cred that isn't actually yours. This is a real independent comic, is Common America, and it's growing on its own without any help from the brainwashing cult that is Comicsgate, which is always what Comicsgate always was, by the way. And we've proven that in the past hundreds of times over the past few years. And people are realizing that we were always right about that too, including people who are the most in the know, other creators. I won't name drop Tim and Mark in this case. I just won't do it. Anyways, but yeah, it's funny. Is this guy blind? How does he see the back cover and not think that two heterosexual conservative men made this? Whoa. First of all, caked up AF. Fucking fat ass bitch. I mean, oh wait, that's fucking, this is maybe a little uncalled for. It's inappropriate, I guess. I really do like this back cover. Very nice. Delightful. And yeah, it just does. It, like, again, Tim and Mark don't want to call out people, but at the same time, like, seeing the person who made this whiny comment being, like, look at how petty and vindictive and whiny this guy is, and here's what to think about. If you haven't thought about this, you're not even remotely smart for 1 second. You have a double-digit IQ, which is embarrassing, by the way. But the person who made this is a person who's respected in comics. People in comics are thinking that the guy who wrote this whiny comment here, that's obviously petulant and trying to denigrate real independent creators who have not done anything to this person. People are like, oh, that guy's really cool. As he's making comments like this that show that he's a big faggot. There's no two ways around that. That's the reality of this. People, it's not because this guy said this. It's because other people are talking this guy up and being like, this guy's really cool, when he's clearly not. It goes to show fandom makes you a low IQ, inferior, genetically inferior, intellectually inferior, emotionally inferior, just in every way possible, inferior person. And I think that's the real reason. They didn't want to be like, this guy is the problem. It's that this guy gets a lot of people supporting him for this behavior, when a real honest person would call out this guy for this behavior. Any person with any real morals or standards or principles would call out this specific person for this behavior. That's why I respect him for even making fun of this. And a lot of other people joined in. As somebody replied saying, Tim and Mark, make a girl superhero group, and then this dude, and just picture of, why are you gay? And but I like this one from Nap Misfit at Truthful Treason. Is this book full of voluptuous waifus looks gay, and then picture a fucking, like, deformed retard. If you're going to do a sock puppet comic, this is the best way to do it.
Square peg meme.
Yeah, putting a square thing trying to put it into the round hole while drooling, and his eyeballs are on two different sides of his head, all
Like
just
a lizard.
horrifically
He's got a
deformed.
lizard. He's like part lizard.
But the thing is, the person who made this above post here, oh, and here's the original one too, the full comment, which I can read that, but the person who made that post saw this, absolutely saw this, and knew, like, people were laughing at him, and you know that Ethan
That's the
Van
thing is,
Sciver,
a lot
oops,
of
did
these
I say his
people
name?
Don't even realize who this is.
Yeah.
They don't realize this is their precious fucking Ethan Caesar daddy.
Well, Nap Misfit here, he does know. I'm sure he knew
Well, I
exactly
mean, of
who made
course,
this
we
post.
know.
A
and there's
couple
few
people,
other
yeah, you can
people
tell
who
a couple people probably didn't know, but I know a few people for sure. For
I can
absolute sure.
imagine easily. There's some people laughing about this right now. Seriously, are the Hail types?
Yeah,
Literally have fucking said Hail Caesar, Hail Comicsgate.
Yeah, they said Hail Caesar and Hail Comicsgate at any time, perhaps. And then they look at this post and go, like, who's this guy whining about Tim and Mark? And it's like,
This
it's somebody that
fucking
you
loser.
support.
This
That's who
guy's
it is.
total fucking gay wad. It's your fucking Caesar. First off, he called himself Caesar. You
Yeah.
ever do that ever? You're a fucking faggot.
Yeah, you're not just like internet gay. You're not just gay, and I'm saying that to mean you're dumb. You are an actual homosexual if you've ever taken anyone calling you Caesar. If anyone called me Caesar, I would be like, don't do that. Don't call me Caesar. I'm not fucking Caesar. Don't call me Caesar.
It's off.
It'd be very annoying to me. Oh no, people are calling me Caesar. Like even if I was going to own it, I'd be like, people calling me Caesar. Just fucking, I would at least play it as like, yeah, it's annoying. Instead, he was literally drawing himself as Caesar to celebrate himself and calling himself Caesar and being like, hey everyone, it's your Caesar. It's the Caesar of comics.
You can have other people call you Caesar, but the instant that you're like, they're calling me Caesar, I'm Caesar, you're fucking faggot. You're going around sucking the dicks of people. You're a bottom.
If you
not
do
even a
that,
power
you are
bottom.
going on Craigslist to have homosexual sex with men. Oh wait, Ethan Van Sciver did do that. The funny thing is, again, as we've said many times, I didn't believe it. You know, Ethan Van Sciver sucks guys' dicks, but I
No,
don't
it sounds
believe
like
it.
one of those goofy meme jokes or copy pasta.
It was
like a fucking
yeah, it was a
language.
silly anon post to just goof on him. Someone was like, "Oh, I'm a gay guy
Although,
and I hooked up with a
it's
guy
weird.
on
It doesn't make
Craigslist."
sense. Why Ethan Van Sciver? He's a nobody.
Yeah, he's
It's like fucking finding out.
yeah, exactly. It's like they're like,
fucking
"Oh, I
did,
fucking
like-
hooked up with President Obama." It was that silly or something, or fucking it was on that
Or
level of being
the
silly.
fucking FBI, the FBI transcripts of the supposed Russian leaked documents of Trump in a hotel room urinating on a hooker and saying fucking Obama. He
said, "I
fucking,
take the biggest shits. I call them Obamas. I take the biggest Obamas. You know, that kind of stuff."
because he's a bad president. It's just that level of ridiculous sounding. Except now I have to kind of
Well, the
believe
thing,
this.
yeah, that's the thing. So I assumed it was something ridiculous and goofy like that. But the thing is, then I saw Ethan's reaction to it, where his immediate reaction was, "Let his cunt wife die," and the other guy was like, "Okay, Ethan, all right," and just like didn't have any clue what he was talking about. Ethan clearly had a complete fucking meltdown in response to what I thought was clearly a joke. But it must not have been if Ethan had that reaction. It's pretty clear that it's real, that Ethan actually does that by his
reaction,
response.
and then that reaction was very eye-opening. And then all these other reactions where he's screaming about people being gay because they make drawings of attractive women.
Yeah. Or he called Miss Sashi a pedo because she draws anime fan art. And it's like, okay, you're revealing more about yourself. See, this thing, some people are just completely in the dark about this. Like Kiwi
Exactly.
Farms is actually utterly in the dark about this. They're clueless when it comes to human behavior. Is
They're
that
not
if
FWC.
somebody if somebody like
They're
makes
not
a
even
fake story about you
FWC.
and says this about you and you're like, oh, that's fucking, that's stupid, why are they saying that? Then it's like, yeah, it could be fake, could be real, you don't know. But if the reaction is to have a screaming fit, it's true every single time. It's always, that's it's like not even 101, it's like the preschool of learning human behavior. Any moron knows this about human
Kind of also
behavior.
like when somebody is like oh fucking whenever somebody's like a little too openly vocal in favor of like either trans rights or fucking gay rights, it's like, oh, they're probably a pedophile, and then
Or
sure
the guy,
enough,
what about that Dr.
evidence
Pizza
shows
guy?
up.
Remember the Dr. Pizza guy who was like, can you believe these idiots think Pizzagate's real and they think that people are pedos, and then the guy ends up getting arrested for child porn. Again, that's the exact same behavior that Ethan Van Sciver displays, that guys like Nick Rekieta and Ethan Ralph display. It's that's why we bring them up at all, because nobody else is realizing yet. But when you do, it will be because we pointed it out first. That's not me. That's not ego or vanity. That's not me
It's
bragging.
a credit.
It's
We won't
mathematically proven.
receive the credit. We should be credited. We won't be,
We don't
but
have
we
to be
should be.
credited. We just should be. You'll never have to thank us, but you should.
You'll never you never thanked us, and you'll never have to, but you absolutely should.
You
But
should.
you
You
don't
really
have
should.
to,
You know you
but
should.
you should.
You know we're right. Anyways, the more
Anyway,
expanded
that's where we
version.
should leave off. If we're gonna do another video,
No, this we're not going to do. This is good enough for today. Hey, as long as it gets posted before the weekends, that's all I care about. But anyways, here just to wrap up though, I want to read the rest of that post. Was the book looks gay? It was looks again. Nothing about the book looks gay. It looks like it was made by furries. He's saying that about Common America because you could see as blank shitting on Common America. I'm pretty sure the blank is at Frog, which is Ethan's confirmed fucking, like, again, it's not like, oh, it could be someone with Ethan's name. It was actually he was verified on Kiwi Farms as actually being Ethan Van Sciver. And he's admitted, that's him. In order to be verified, you have to go to the admins and be fucking, and to verify that's your identity. So yeah, it's at Frog on Kiwi Farms. So they said Frog shitting on Common America definitely seems like sour grapes, not a good look. And his response to Common America, which is blowing up. So that's the reason why I brought that up earlier too. Is if you see somebody really angry in the comments, that's Ethan on a sock puppet account. And notice that it's only shown up after this got posted yesterday. Everyone was just dunking on this person who made this post. Where he also, in the rest of the post, he says, but I acknowledged way back pages ago on this very thread that the minute Tim did what I recommended, stop making Trump comics to get Sebastian Gorka's attention, he'd find moderate success. He did and has. He's welcome for the advice. Again, trying to, it's not even a humble brag. It's trying to take credit for somebody else's success that he had nothing to do with, because Tim still did do the Trump comics to get Sebastian Gorka's attention, which you can tell that fucking burns Ethan's ass. Oh no, did I say Ethan? But you can tell that burns fucking Ethan's ass so badly that Sebastian Gorka ever may have noticed Tim and Mark's comics. And here, the post specifically, our second comic was in 2018, the non-political series Black Ops. This, along with Walmite, set the stage for Common America in 2020. We also never stopped working on our satire. See The Mandalorian, also 2020. So no, we did not and do not take advice from industry pros. And Tim just kind of brought this up just to bring it up, but also because their success, I mean, it's fucking, you could say, oh, it's inappropriate of Tim to reply, to basically respond to people lying about him. If you've ever held that opinion that's inappropriate in any way for anyone to have any response to anything anyone says about them, especially if it's dishonest, you don't have any real principles. And you probably never will. You'll take other people's principles and pretend to hold them, but you're just playing at a person who has principles. Anyways, yeah. But the thing is, this got a lot of replies, and it got a lot of a decent amount of sharing around and stuff from people just dunking on the person who wrote this post, Ethan Van Sciver. Let's just fucking come out with it. We can come out with that at least. But again, it was tasteful of Tim to not just drag him out, but he's making a point though. The industry pros are the establishment, and they're lying. What does that tell you about comics? About the comics industry, but also about the people who make comics. You really can't trust anyone, even if they say they're an independent. If they're an industry pro in any way, they are a dishonest person. Every person who, is glomming around Ethan right now is dishonest. They've been caught lying about something. Even if it's just about claiming that Ethan has never lied. Well, I saw one of them was like, Ethan's never lied. For people who call Ethan a liar, he's never lied. And they all owe him a big apology. And it's like, you couldn't be more of like a fucking bootlick quisling, or not even a quisling, because at least a quisling can't make up their mind. A cultist, essentially. You're a fucking, you're like a paid shill, or a free shill, which might be even worse. But that's your nature. And again, it's this worship of wanting to be the establishment while artificially claiming you're independent. That's what comics has. The new cancer in comics is the people claiming to be indies while being the establishment in practice or behavior, or actually by secretly having a company back you up and do your printing and fulfilling for you, like Ethan Van Sciver did. In fact, some of Ethan Van Sciver's funding got funneled into the Antifa Bail Fund through Dynamite Comics, because Dynamite Comics donated to that, and Dynamite Comics got some of their money from Cyberfrog because they were printing and shipping it, which means Ethan gave a very large chunk of the backing of all of the Cyberfrog campaigns to Dynamite Comics, which again went to the Antifa Bail Fund, among other things like that. So that's the cancer that we now have to deal with. The real indies in comics have to deal with. But at the same time, as I explained to Ethan, webcomics and manga don't have this problem. And that's why most people have left. I actually said that to Ethan and Nick Rekieta directly on stream with them, that manga doesn't have this problem, and that's why most of the readers have left for it. And in response, Ethan's reaction was to change the subject and actually say, his response was, well, I'm not looking to appeal. I'm not trying to sell to that audience. And it's like, that's not the point I was making. That's not even what I was talking about. You changed the subject. You evaded. And when you do that, you lose the argument. Also, when you contradict yourself in your own words, you lose the argument. And I got Ethan to do that too, interestingly enough, about Tim Lim, where Ethan was spewing the same old platitudes that I knew were bullshit about how Comicsgate is for everyone. And it's like, but it's obviously not for everyone, because you've said it fucking, if it's for everyone, that means it's for SJWs too. And it's obviously not. But I said, what about Tim Lim? He was like, oh, Comicsgate's for everyone, and everyone's part of it, and everyone could be part of it. And I said, what about Tim Lim? And immediately Ethan goes, no. And it's like, well, you contradicted yourself. You lost the argument. That's all it takes. That's how easy it is for us. Anyways, so that wraps up yet another wonderful episode. I know we covered more stuff than the usual, but again, there's a lot more in-depth reviews and critical analysis like this on our Subscribestar, the super secret videos that are back there. Just like $1 a month or so will get you access to some of them, but unshare, like, recomment, whatever, and should have listened to Shitty Webcomics.